Welcome learners. This is MOOC on creative writing and we are going to the 7th module. Already you have learned one MOOC, one particular video where the nuances of creative writing, that is, how to write memoir, how to write autobiography, how to write a biography, all these things, the main aspects have already been discussed. And this is the unit or the particular video where we are going to study or we are going to learn about memoir writing. So now, first of all, we have to know what's a memoir. So, that comes to defining a memoir. Creative writing is that medium where a writer or an individual can explore different genres to give his or her feelings a concrete shape. When we talk of memoir and memoir writing, it is observed that memoir is different from autobiography. A memoir focuses on a specific period or experience in the author's life, while an autobiography covers the author's life from beginning till the end. In other words, a memoir is the recollection of thoughts or experience of an individual of a particular phase of his or her life. Such personal accounts may be precise in shape and target only some specific moments, events, or experience of the individual or writer concerned. Memoir writing has an intimate personal touch, which, when structured properly, may strike a chord in the reader's heart. It is up to the creative ability of the memoir writer, use of selective words, perfect blend of emotions with factual truths that may motivate the readers to explore and realize the content of memoir writing. Some special moments or incidents of a writer's life come live in his or her memoir writing. Here, special may denote anything from good to bad, awkward or awesome, pleasing or horrible. Being a work of non-fiction, a memoir may record facts and events, experiences, accounts with a language which is acceptable and motivating for all readers. The writer has to select his theme or stories carefully. The personal touch of the writer should resonate in his or her autobiographical writing, but the writer must be careful so that his or her narration of some shared experiences with other members of the family or friends do not hurt the feeling or self-integrity of the second person concerned. It is here that the most unique, formidable challenge appears before a memoir writer, where the writer has to balance true feelings of the heart and at the same time represent it in a detached manner. The writer who can balance these two unique situations is the one who can master the skill well. Rian G. Van Cleef, in his book Memoir Writing for Dummies, has described memoir writing as a game of language play. Some people are adept in playing word games and have a good time solving word problems. These game lovers have a knack in solving the puzzles using their creative ability and presence of mind. In the same way, writing a good memoir is similar to constructing a puzzle, that is, a language puzzle game, where the gamer must have sufficient word stock, creativity, good command of grammar, and word uses. At this point, we can quote the words of Cleave, where he has said, "Any type of writing is like playing a word puzzle game. Going with one answer changes what comes before and after it, deeply interrelated. Puzzle enthusiasts thrive on the give and take, the guesswork, the rethinking required to succeed. The execution of a memoir has plenty of these things." Another question is, what is the difference between memoir writing and autobiography? So now here we goes. Autobiography and memoir writing both fall into the genre of creative writing. However, both autobiography and memoir writing have some differences with regard to their features. The first basic difference between the two lies in the selection of a preposition. While autobiography is the story of a life, a memoir is a story of life. An autobiography may include each and every incident of an individual's life from birth till the present, whereas a memoir is focused on parts or elements of a life. In other words, autobiographies are usually written in chronological order, whereas a memoir may not necessarily follow the same. A memoir uses specific events of life to point to a particular theme or thematic aspect. Autobiography outlines the events and experiences of the author in a factual way, where the authors reflect on how their past experiences have shaped them. A memoir is more intimate and focuses on emotions and perspective. Therefore, it is a historical account or biography written from the writer's personal knowledge or special sources. There is no fixed length for an autobiography, and it is largely determined by the author's choice of including specific details about their lives. Memoirs may be short in length due to their specific structure and theme. In this regard, Clive mentions that generally a memoir is between 60,000 and 1,20,000 words. So now let us go for the key features of memoir, and it's very interesting. So let us go for it. In memoirs, the narrator and author are always the same. The first person point of view is always used in the narration of a memoir. This adds to the subjectivity of memoirs with regard to how the events are presented to the reader and if they are synonymous with the way the author experienced the events or not. So here, when we read a memoir, the first and foremost target of the memoir writer is to motivate the readers towards his writing. So, if it is in the first person and if he writes it in a specific and motivating manner, then the readers will easily get motivated, and while going through the memoir, they will feel as if they are seeing the things, they are experiencing what the memoirist or what the memoir writer is feeling. And if they can feel what the memoirist feels, then the memoirist's writings or his memoir writing becomes a success. So now we go for the next feature or the next key feature of the memoir. Representing the truth is another feature of a memoir. The author or writer must avoid creating encounters and include facts as much as possible. And an essential part of representing the reality of or truth is attention to detail. In memoirs, details matter. Sometimes it can be structured around one detail or one image from the author's past. And the author must be very, very careful in this structuring work. He must present the truth in such a way that the creativity is also not lost. So he should strike a balance between the truth and his creativity. Memoirs are usually published with a series of anecdotes that are tied together by a common thread. These common thread may be a common setting where all the memoirs are set in the same time or place. Memoir is nothing but an emotional journey down memory lane. While writing, the memoirist usually goes through a deeper emotional revelation or discovery. Hence, memoirs must engage with the memoirist's thoughts and feelings, both during the incident as well as after the incident, where the author recounts the same to the reader. Just a few minutes ago, I have told about the connection, the connectivity of the memoir, what is written there, and the reader. So, this is what there's an emotional journey, because if the emotional journey is structured properly, it's explained in a natural way and that with creativity, that can touch the chord of the reader, then the reader can also feel that. He can realize into the deeper emotional revelation. And sometimes the reader himself or herself can feel it, can reconnect it, can connect it to his or her personal experience. So this is where the success of a memoir stays or remains. Hence, memoirs must engage with the memoir's thoughts and feelings both during the incident as well as after the incident, where the author recounts the same to the reader. Thus, memoirists have the advantage of conveying what they have learned from the experiences and enable the reader to gain insights into the lives of others and relate how these lessons may apply to their own. Again, uniqueness is another feature of a memoir. How a memoirist perceives a theme or subject matter may not be the same as the reader. It may differ from individual to individual. It can be seen that at times some memoirists glorify the mundane, the everyday happenings. By bridging the gap between the memoirist's experience and the reader's experiences, memoirs may encourage deeper feelings of identification, sympathy, and empathy. However, even these experiences are of special significance to the author, making them stand out as unique against the other experiences of their life. We cannot ignore the historical evolution of memoir. As learners, as individuals, as interested persons concerning creative writing, you must know what is the historical evolution of memoir. And now we are going through it. To briefly highlight its history, memoir writings date back to the early times, that is 100 BC to 44 BC, during the reign of Julius Caesar, the great Roman general and statesman. The Gallic Wars by Julius Caesar, a commentary on his personal experience of politics and fighting, is now considered as memoir. Saint Augustine of Hippo has commentaries to his credit, which is a deeply introspective account of his religious conversion. This writing has also been considered as an early example of memoir writing. In the 15th century, Philip de Comines, modestly effacing himself except to authenticate a scene by his presence, in his memoirs, Life of Louis XI, Master of Statecraft, as witnessed by one of the most sagacious counselors of the age. The English civil wars of the 17th century produced numerous narratives or accounts which can be termed as memoirs. Writers of those memoirs were usually those individuals who had played significant roles in or were close observers of historical events and whose main purpose is to describe or interpret the events. Notable among these memoirs are the memoirs of Edmund Ludlow and Sir John Reresby. The literary memoir has recently surged in popularity, but it has been there for a long time. In 1920, Virginia Woolf was part of the Memoir Club, a group convened by Molly McCarthy with many of the writers and artists we know of as the Bloomsbury Group. Before that, the groundwork for the memoir was laid by many of the great essayists. The first recorded instance of memoir came in 1798 from the German philosopher Friedrich Schlegel. In the 19th century and early 20th century, memoirs were still sparse. Later, writers such as Frank Conroy, Maya Angelou, Maxine Hong Kingston, and Joyce Maynard kept their careers with memoirs. Brothers Geoffrey and Tobias Wolff memoirs attract a lot of attention with respect to their subject matter. Geoffrey's The Duke of Deception revolved around their notorious father. Toby's This Boy's Life regarding the stepfather carved the way for the next big memoir. In 1994, the trend has started accelerating, but before it slipped into the speed it has now attained, critic William Gus wrote about the negative aspect of the memoir in Harper's, where he scorned celebrities whose tabloid lives were presented in memoirs that were not worth reading at all. Now, let's go to another aspect of memoir writing, and that is steps to write a memoir, and is very important if you are interested too in writing memoirs. Okay, let's go for it. Writing a memoir is a deeply personal and creative process which involves the emotions too. In this process, the story of an individual's life is being told by the individual himself. In doing so, the memoir writer chooses specific moments of life, some experiences or themes which may have deep impression upon the memoir writer. Here, let us discuss the various steps while writing a memoir. Selection of a theme. This is the first point. For a memoir writer or memoirist, the first thing that comes to mind is selection of a suitable theme. At the same time, the memoirist should also keep in mind who are the readers whom he or she is writing the memoir for. Understanding the reader's choice or taste may not bring success to the writer as a memoirist. Keeping the reader's taste in view, the memoirist must select themes related to a particular event, relationship, journey or transformation, etc. Then now let's go for the next point, that is choice of key moment, and it's very, very significant. A memoirist needs to identify key events or periods of his life related to the focus of the memoir. These need to be organized chronologically or thematically. Emotions, thoughts and other details are part of the key events a memoirist wishes to convey in his memoir. So, the organizing part is quite significant in this regard. Then it's developing a narrative. How to develop it? It is the theme that determines the development of the narrative part of a memoir. The memoirist needs to take care while weaving his or her exclusive story, keeping the theme in mind. The narrative part is the most important part of memoir writing because it motivates the reader to go through the text thoroughly and with a keen sense of interest. The memoirist who is able to master the skill of a narrator has to be a wizard at using words and phrases. Let us take an example of an extract from a memoir to make this point. The last summer at Grandma's. It was a summer. The sun seemed to burn a little brighter. The days stretched longer than they ever had before, and the old house on Maple Street was quieter than I remembered. I was 15 and I did not know it then, but it would be that last summer I spent at Grandma's house. The house smelled like vanilla and dust, warm and familiar, like a quilt someone had stitched together from years of memories. I would sit in the big wicker chair on the porch, listening to the creaking of the floorboards under Grandma's weight as she moved inside, humming a song I couldn't place. Her hands, weathered and soft, had always felt like home, like safety. But this summer, I noticed how slow they were to move, how much effort it took her to lift a glass of water to her lips. The cancer had taken more than just her strength. It had stolen her sparkle, the fire in her eyes that had always lit up when she saw me. One afternoon, I found myself sitting next to her in the garden, the air thick with the scent of lavender. Grandma was pulling weeds from the flower bed, her back bent like a tree caught in a permanent gust of wind. She paused, wiped the sweat from her brow, and turned to me with a smile that did not quite reach her eyes. "Do you ever wonder," she said slowly, "how much of us live in the places we leave behind?" I nodded, though I didn't understand what she meant. She had been asking me questions like that more often lately, questions that felt more like goodbyes. The essence of memoir writing, to a certain extent, lies in the narrative part where the memoirist exhibits his or her creativity and skill at the language game like a wizard of words. In the above extract too, we can see distinct features in the narrative part when we look into sensory details such as the smell of vanilla, the creaking of the floorboards, etc. It may be observed that a memoirist is trying to draw the reader into the setting. Another prominent feature of the extract is its emotional reflection, where the narrator notices changes in her grandma's health, which adds depth and introspection. The memoirist's sincerity and honesty get reflected through this extract. The narrator's vulnerability comes through his or her observation of the grandmother's decline and a reflection of the inevitable nature of life's changes. The question Grandma asked about how much of us lives on introduces a deeper theme of legacy and loss, which could be explored throughout the memoir. Thus, this narrative part creates a sense of intimacy and emotional connection, inviting readers to share in the narrator's experience of loss and growth. Balancing the truth and creativity is equally important for the memoirist. A memoir should always be written from the first-person point of view, since the memoirist shares his or her personal experience. So, the memoir should be written in such a way that reflects his or her personal voice. This makes the memoir writing authentic and relatable. The memoirist must never shy away from difficult or emotional moments. Memoirs are personal stories, so the memoirist must not be afraid to be vulnerable or share uncomfortable truths. This authenticity will resonate with readers. Readers will connect with the memoirist's truth, not a polished or idealized version of his or her life. Another important aspect is that one's memoir may involve other people too. If this is the case, then the memoirist needs to be mindful of their privacy and feelings. While honesty is crucial, the memoirists need to change names or adjust details to protect their identity or preserve relationships. Here, it needs to be mentioned that memoirs are not just about telling a story. They are about showing the emotional journey behind the story. The memoirist ought to reflect on how these experiences change his or her. Everyone can write a diary, but not all can write a good memoir. It is a creative line that separates a diary from a memoir. Then the question arises as to how to structure the memoir. In this regard, this is to be mentioned that the memoir need not always be of linear structure. One must not hesitate or feel constrained to tell the story chronologically if appropriate. Many memoirs jump back and forth in time using flashbacks or parallel storylines. When writing a memoir, the writer needs to question himself or herself as to what proportion to use the different components, that is, the information that goes with the story, the size of the sentences, the scenes, the chapter, etc. A memoir has plenty of interior moments, thinking, reflecting, and musing. The past comes alive when things are happening right in front of the reader, which means dialogues are actually heard versus talked about. Exposition is that talking about. Both long and short sentences are used in memoir writing. Literary techniques such as imagery and symbolism are used in memoir writing. These literary techniques can deepen the emotional resonance of the story and make one's memoir more compelling. Tips to write a memoir. This is also important for you. A question may arise in our minds that why all memoir writings are not mind-creative, captivating memoir creations. The answer is simple. There are some important tips for writing a good memoir. Some of these tips have been mentioned below. Show, don't tell. You should show rather than tell the story or narrate. Nobody can remember each and every detail so carefully. It is your story and you should tell it to the best of your ability. That is why it's often called creative non-fiction. You reproduce every detail of the scenes to the best of your memory. The point is not to get all details exactly right, but to share your story in an engaging way with your readers, as if they are reading a novel. Good writing skills. You should try to learn the skills that make a good novelist with an emphasis on dialogue, character introduction, development, packing and story structure. Avoid being preachy. Memoirs should not become too preachy or offer too much advice to the reader. Engaging with emotional experiences. You should delve deep into your emotional experiences while writing the memoir. This makes your work more compelling. Now, there are some common pitfalls concerning memoir writing. Let's go for it. Common pitfalls to avoid in memoir writing. There are some challenging aspects to overcome as far as memoir writing is concerned. The memoirs may be resourceful with plenty of memories, information and data. The first and foremost requirement of the memoir writer is to be brave, honest and sincere so that readers get to know only the truth through the reading. The memoirist has to give a universal touch to his or her personal thoughts, experiences and realizations expressed in the memoir. In other words, the memoir writer has to turn the things he or she has learned into lessons which are universally relevant that readers will recognize and empathize with. Memoir writers must avoid the following while writing a memoir. Not defining the theme. The memoir writer must use a specific theme to execute his or her task of writing a memoir. He or she must be able to state the theme of his or her memoir in one sentence. Not plotting. The memoirist must take time to outline his or her story. Using a timeline is a must. Outlining makes even more sense for a memoir than a novel because a memoirist is dealing with the real events. He or she cannot wander off the path and make things up. Not entertaining readers. A memoirist needs to edit his story so that he or she can reach out to a good number of readers. If one wishes to get a bigger audience or reader group to appreciate or enjoy reading of his or her memoir, then it is advisable to avoid preaching to the readers. Instead, the story should be structured in such a way that the readers may enjoy exploring it and relishing it on their own. Stream of consciousness. A memoirist may be so eager to document an event that his or her writing becomes disorganized and fragmented. Writers often share events as a stream of consciousness, divulging random memories and thoughts as they occur in their minds. Unfortunately, this does not make for an interesting read and may even confuse the reader, especially if it leads to long run-on sentences that are hard to follow. Avoiding giving long winding advice. Readers pick up a book or memoir for entertainment. It is usually not meant to teach, inspire or motivate, although these are possible outcomes of good writing. As a memoirist writes his or her memoir, one should resist the urge to tell the reader how to overcome something in their own life and focus on what the memoirist's journey means to him or her. Writing for revenge. This is very important. If one is simply writing to settle old scores with another person, then such a memoirist will not succeed. Even if terrible things happen, one needs to present these as part of the story and let readers come to their own conclusions. Now, we are almost nearing the end of this video, so let's go for the conclusion part. As a creative form of writing, memoir writing reveals a complete new world before the reader. This world may take the reader by surprise, as for memoirs sometimes reveal those truths of life about which we are totally unaware of or insensitive about. A memoir writer possesses a remarkable, almost mystical ability to deeply engage and inspire readers. Through vivid storytelling and personal reflections, they can evoke emotions, spark introspection, and motivate individuals to see their own lives in a new light. This unique talent allows them to transform personal experiences into universal related narratives, making readers feel understood, encouraged, and driven to reflect on their own journeys. In the above discussion, we have covered varied aspects of memoir writing, like how to write a memoir, its features, things that ought to be avoided while writing a memoir, and some useful tips too. It is expected that learners will feel inspired and motivated after watching this video. Thank you all.